For decades now, there's been one film in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise that almost everybody agrees is the best. Today, I'm here to make the case that its sequel might actually be better. Hey, what's up everybody? Nick here, and today we are going to be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. And if you are a fan of these early 2000s DVD releases, look no further. Snapper. So look, I know I get the moniker of Halloween guy. I am a Halloween fan. Yes, it's my favorite franchise, but number 2 is A Nightmare on Elm Street. I have always loved the Nightmare series ever since I was a small child. Because of the big 3, the only one that actually ever truly scared me was Freddy Krueger. How are you going to get away from this guy? He's a dream demon. You go to sleep, you're screwed. And if you don't go to sleep, you're screwed because you're eventually going to fall asleep whether you like it or not. It was a terrifying concept, and it is no surprise that for well over a decade, this character captivated audiences and scared the absolute crap out of them. Now, growing up in my household, my mom always said that Dream Warriors was the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie. She would say the only 2 you need to watch are the original and Dream Warriors. Then, as the internet became a thing and I started to get on that in my early years, I saw a lot of people saying the same thing. Oh, 1 and 3 are the best. Absolutely. Then, people were even going as far to say Dream Warriors is the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And today in 2025, that's probably the most popular belief amongst Freddy fans, is that Part 3 is the best. Now, if you don't know my ranking on A Nightmare on Elm Street, you may be surprised to hear that A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, is actually my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. It's not 3 or 4. Look, Freddy's Revenge, in my opinion, is Demon Freddy. That is Freddy at his most evil. I also really liked the fact that we had a final guy. I don't know, Mark Patton was great in the movie as well. The movie's really dark, unforgiving. It's this body horror extravaganza. Like, there's just so much about A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 to love. So a lot of people might go, okay, whatever, you like that weird homoerotic little horror movie. But what about Part 3? That's your next favorite, right? It's actually not. In recent years, I have really held firm on this, and today I'm here to state my case for why I feel like The Dream Master is just more enjoyable than Dream Warriors. So first things first, I think a lot of people misremember this time period when these movies came out. I think a lot of people just automatically assume that A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was the biggest Freddy ever was, right? Actually, it was with The Dream Master. See, leading up to Part 4's release, that's when you got MTV Freddy. Yes, you had Freddy Krueger hosting MTV Countdowns. That is also the movie that had the largest box office haul of all of them up to that point. And I think a lot of people misremember that because they specifically think back to Dawkins' Dream Warriors. That went in tandem with The Nightmare on Elm Street 3. That song was huge. But I think those things laid the groundwork that really helped Freddy the next year be at his peak with the release of The Dream Master. Now again, as I do with all of these videos, this is subjective. I'm going to give you reasons why I prefer The Dream Master. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is objectively a better film. I also know that my comment section is probably going to be 75-25. People saying, Dream Warriors is the best. But here are my reasons for why I find Dream Master better. First and foremost, I've got to go with the cast of characters here. Look, I really like Alice, Dan, Sheila, and Debbie. I think they all have unique personalities, and I think it's a really good cast. I know a lot of people love the Dream Warriors, and I liked them too, but I didn't mind to move on in this movie. Now, I will admit that I was a little bummed that Kincaid died, and I was surprised that they could just kind of offed all of them in the first 15 minutes of this movie, but I felt like it was necessary. Because if anything, that ups the ante, that raises the stakes. Yes, these heroes from the previous movie that you fell in love with, well, Freddy's coming back, and he's taking them out pretty quick to show you that Freddy's not screwing around. I really enjoy Lisa Wilcox in this movie, and I like her a lot in Part 5 as well. I think her casting is one of the best things to happen to A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I will go as far as to say that Lisa Wilcox is probably the best final girl in the series. And yes, that includes everybody's beloved Heather Langenkamp. Another reason why I prefer The Dream Master over Dream Warriors is just the makeup and the special effects. Look, there's some great moments in Dream Warriors, absolutely, but I think The Dream Master is just a smidge better. I personally find the Roach Motel sequence to be one of the most memorable in the entire franchise. It's gross, it's inventive, and if nothing else, you're going to remember it. Whether you liked it or not, you're gonna remember it. I really like the design of Freddy in this movie quite a bit. John Carl Buechler was a veteran to these horror films, specifically in the 80s. He had his hands in all of them. Friday the 13th, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I love a lot of the makeup effects in this movie. I think Freddy looks better in this movie than he did in Part 3. And when I think about Part 3 and its effects, I think about a few things that don't age as well, like the lightning. Whereas in this movie, I feel like most of these effects age pretty friggin' well. Another reason why I prefer the Dream Master is somebody that you can either love or hate, and that's Renny Harlin. And that comes from me too. I love some of Rennie's movies, and I hate some of Rennie's movies. This is one of his better films. Look, Renny Harlin has a very unique style. If you've watched a Renny Harlin movie, you know what I'm talking about. And in the late 80s, when they were looking for a director for this film, they wanted somebody big for as demanding as the shoot was going to be. And it shows. Renny Harlin was up to the task. In a lot of ways, The Dream Master is much larger in scale than every Nightmare on Elm Street film up to this point. That's one thing about the Nightmare films that you can notice is that with each movie, it seemed like they were starting to get more imaginative. They were adding more to the world. They were asking their actors and their director to do more. And I think it's obvious by watching this movie that Renny Harlin was up to the task. Now again, that's not to say that Renny Harlin is a fantastic filmmaker. No, he's got some blemishes. But when he's on, he's on. And with The Dream Master, he's really on. I love the look of this movie. I love some of the shot composition. I love a lot about the technical aspects of this film. And I would even go as far as to say that this is probably the best looking Nightmare film up to this point. I just think that it shows that this young guy at the time that was really looking for his break in the industry knew what the hell he was doing, and he was firing on all cylinders. Another reason to love The Dream Master is the soundtrack. You've got some great bangers in this movie, okay? You've got Sinead O'Connor, you've got Vinnie Vincent Invasion, you've got Dramarama. Now, I know a lot of people look back to Dream Warrior specifically, and they think about, oh, Dokken. But I would actually make the argument that Part 4 and Part 5 soundtracks are far better than Part 3. Now, I know Part 5 soundtrack, almost none of that is in the actual film, which is insane, like completely ridiculous. But it's still a great motion picture soundtrack. But here in Part 4, a lot of these songs are in the motion picture. And it really just transports you back to that time. I wasn't alive in the late 80s. That was right before I was born. But I've watched enough stuff from that time period to know what it looks and feels like, what it was at that time. And I just feel like this is so late 80s. And that is largely due to the soundtrack. And I think one of the largest reasons that I love The Dream Master is just how they handle Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund's performance. Yes, I mentioned the makeup. Yes, I mentioned some of the effects, and they're top notch in this movie. But I really think this is when they found their stride with Freddy Krueger. The first few films, they were kind of waffling back and forth between, is he jokey? Is he scary? Is he a demon? What is he? This is the movie when I really think they figured it out. Yes, he's got one-liners. Yes, he does some ridiculous stuff. But yes, he's also terrifying. And in The Dream Master, he is. At moments, he's funny. At moments, he's just straight up over the top. And at other moments, he is genuinely terrifying. And that, I think, is the perfect balance to strike with the character. I've always felt like that's when this series is at its best. Now, certain movies in this series would, overdo it in one direction or the other. Look no further than Freddy's Dead. And that's not to hate on Freddy's Dead, but I'm just saying that was completely jokey Freddy. He's not even a menace anymore. He's just a cartoon. But I think they really nailed it with The Dream Master. And I also just want to say largely that this was the perfect era for Freddy Krueger. I think that from Part 2 to Part 5 is when you got some of the best movies in the series, some of the best makeup, some of the best effects, some of the best performances, some of the best world building. It was just that's like different than every other period in this series. Sure, you've got New Nightmare and you've got Freddy vs. Jason and the remake and you've got the original, but those periods in time don't feel as cohesive as this period of time did. Whether you're somebody that loves the Dream Master or loves Dream Warriors or loves Freddy's Revenge or loves the Dream Child, there's so much to love in all of those movies. And each one of those movies, specifically 3 through 5, feel like a piece of each other. One kind of stands out. Although they do try to bring it back in Dream Warriors, it's just not really the draw of that movie. You care more about the Dream Warriors, these new characters in this new environment, not so much Nancy Thompson. But 3 through 5 really do feel like episodic films. And I think that it is no surprise that that was the period in time when Freddy was at his most successful, when everybody knew him, because that's when Freddy was firing on all cylinders. Look, I prefer the Dream Master to Dream Warriors. I prefer Freddy's Revenge to Dream Warriors. But I am well aware that I'm in the minority with those opinions. And that's totally fine. I'm not here to try to be right or tell you you're wrong. No, I'm just giving you my side of it and why. And if nothing else, I hope that there's people that have, or maybe just simply overlooked it because it came right after their favorite movie in the series and it peaked. There's no way we could reach those heights again. I hope they go back and they give this movie a revisit. And I really hope they go back and realize that this is one and the same with Dream Warriors. Honestly, if anybody told me they preferred either one to the other, I would totally get it. I would totally understand it. I feel like these two movies work in perfect tandem together. I don't think you can go wrong. But for me, I prefer the Dream Master. And I think it's about time a lot of us who feel the same way start to speak up. But I want to hear down below in the comment section what you guys think of the Dream Master. What'd you think when you first saw it? What do you think now? Do you think it's better than Dream Warriors? Or are you weird like me and think that Freddy's Revenge is better than both of them? Whatever it is, I want to hear down below in the comment section. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.